evening, everybody, and welcome to this official opening of our conference this evening. A very, very warm welcome, a very, very special welcome to our visitors, those of you who have come in from the region and our extra-regional who have come here to this conference, the third time that we're having it here in Trinidad. And I really, based on what you just saw from the very, very talented Brian McFarlane, I'm pretty sure that over the next couple of days that you're going to be seeing not only more of Trinidad and Tobago's talent, but obviously a lot of what Trinidad and Tobago has to offer. So again, a very warm Trinidad and Tobago welcome to you all. The Honorable Winston Ducaran, Acting Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Rufus Ewing, Premier of Turks and Caicos, Honorable Lorne Theophilus, Minister of Tourism of St. Lucia, Honorable Beverly Nicholson Doughty, Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization and Commissioner of Tourism in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Mr. Hugh Riley, Secretary General of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, my own Permanent Secretary, who I must say to Juliana Johan Boudran, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, what a fine job that she has done, she and her staff have done, as you will see over the next couple of days. Mr. Carlos Vogler, our conference keynote speaker and Regional Director for the Americas United Nations World Tourism Organization. Mr. Orville London, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, delegates, tourism stakeholders, business leaders, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, my own cabinet colleagues here in Trinidad and Tobago. A very, very good evening to you all. It really gives me great pleasure to address you this evening on the occasion of the welcome ceremony and opening ceremony, welcome reception, and opening ceremony for this 14th Annual Caribbean Conference on Sustainable Tourism Development, organized jointly by the Government of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean Tourism Organization. As Minister of Tourism, it is for me a matter of pride that we have organized such a prestige conference here with the participation of so many tourism experts, practitioners, and media professionals locally and from abroad. We will all certainly benefit from your presence and your contribution on a subject that is very, very topical here today and which will influence the type and quality of life of future generations. Thanks must be extended to the CTO for bringing its 14th annual conference on sustainable tourism development to our beautiful Twin Island Republic. There will also be other major conferences this year in Trinidad and Tobago, such as the Travel Professionals of Color Conference and Trade Show that will take place late July, early August. It is also anticipated that in the last quarter of this year that Trinidad and Tobago will be hosting the next edition of the Caribbean Hotel Tourism Investment Conference to be held right here. And of course, that is critical to the lifeblood of the tourism business in the Caribbean, the investment. Sustainable tourism development, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me, is no longer a mere cliche. Over the past decade or so, there's been a tremendous body of research and discussion regarding conservation and protection of our resources. Most stakeholders will have come to realize that it is in our own interests to devise ways and means to correct whatever can still be remedied. As you know, the Caribbean has one of the oldest tourism industries in the world. It's hundreds of years old, and people have come to our shores seeking warm weather mainly, but now the traveler seeks to find other ways of entertaining himself and would very much like to enjoy the islands in a different way. This year's theme, Keeping the Right Balance, Enhancing Destination Sustainability through Products, Partnerships, and Profitability, a key word in the industry. It strikes at the very basis of what is a very fragile industry. Countries that have chosen tourism development as one of the main pillars for their economic development should by now have come to terms with their own vulnerability. Not only is the industry fragile, but it also has ripple effects on all other sectors of the various economies throughout the Caribbean. This Sustainable Tourism Conference could not have come at a more opportune time as we grapple with the impact of a global recession on the vulnerable Caribbean tourism economy. Intense competition for world tourism market share from the European and Asian countries, and service quality issues in our own tourism product. The Caribbean faces many challenges, but I'm convinced that any problems we face are far outweighed by the great opportunities we now have to grow tourism. It is critical that we lay aside differences and forge ahead in the true Caribbean spirit to discuss these issues and identify joint solutions to the challenges facing our industry. The Caribbean must first come together as being the premier warm weather destination in the world. That is our first priority. Anybody thinking of going to a warm weather destination, the Caribbean must be foremost in their minds. After they come to the Caribbean, or when they decide to come to the Caribbean, then we start competing. But we cannot compete against each other as to whether or not the Caribbean is in fact the premier warm weather destination. We must maintain that status. And then, as I said, once the travelers arrive in the Caribbean, we will compete in a fair, in a fair business-like manner to compete for the business. I firmly believe that Trinidad and Tobago has an enormous opportunity to become a major player in the tourism industry of the Caribbean region. In the case of Trinidad and Tobago, the tourism industry plays a key role in transforming the national economy. And I'm happy to say that this government, this People's Partnership government, is committed to developing and expanding our tourism industry. We look forward to tourism to stimulate a greater level of inward investment, foreign exchange earnings, and employment. And I've given these figures time and time again, but I believe the more you see it, the better. Currently, we employ over 35,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago in direct employment in the hospitality and tourism industry. 35,000 people, with another 30,000 people indirectly. So the tourism product of Trinidad and Tobago can in fact employ upwards of 65,000 people, which from what I heard from the Manufacturers Association this morning, we are basically on par with the manufacturing sector when it comes to employment levels. 8% of the country's GDP, of Trinidad and Tobago's GDP, is provided by tourism and the hospitality industry. 8%. And of course, billions of dollars have been invested in the tourism plant in Trinidad and Tobago. Billions of dollars, and I'm happy to say that out of those billions of dollars that have been invested over decades, the majority of that money has been local investment. And therefore, we boast upwards of 70 cents on the dollar remaining on island when a traveler arrives in our nation. Upwards of 70%. 70 cents on the dollar stays on island. Tourism has also been positioned as the driver for the development and engagement of our rural communities. In recognition of the fact that to take our tourism industry to the next level, we must be much more structured, much more organized in the way we develop and market our product. And we have sought to re-engineer our marketing and implementation agency, the Tourism Development Company. The TDC has been given a broad yet exclusive mandate to not only market Trinidad and Tobago worldwide, but to also ensure that a high-quality product with high-quality standards is put in place and that we attract the investors that we will need to partner with us to take us to the next level. We hope that by the next World Travel Market in November, Trinidad and Tobago will be ready to launch its global marketing and branding campaign. So for the first time, we're going to see Trinidad and Tobago at the top of the list, rather than people asking, where is Trinidad and Tobago? Soon the world will know where Trinidad and Tobago is. Tobago is a clean, green, and serene destination, offering all the charm and beauty expected of a typical Caribbean island. Trinidad is building upon its diverse, cosmopolitan, and vibrant society to become the meeting place of the Southern Caribbean, a place to meet not just for business reasons, but for social reasons, to participate in our many and varied festivals and events, to participate and watch our myriad sporting events, and to meet, to experience our unrivaled diversity of flora and fauna. This will demand careful planning, but more important than anything, it will demand the understanding, participation, and commitment of our people. The government, we have initiated a number of programs for the support of the existing tourism plant, in addition to programs to support new investment. And I won't go into detail, but these programs were started recently, and I know that they have been taken advantage of by many people. Simple things that we have also embarked on. Since the lifeguard service of Trinidad and Tobago was started, I think 40-something years ago, it never became a professional lifeguard service. And we have 250 lifeguards working throughout Trinidad, Tobago, the Tobago House of Assembly has its own lifeguard service. And therefore, what we are looking to do is we will be going to Parliament soon to bring the Lifeguard Act that will give us a professional lifeguard services. And those lifeguard services will move from just water safety into many other things. Another thing that we're looking at to enhance the visitor experience, of course, is a beach authority that will look to manage our beaches. One of the main things in Trinidad and Tobago, a good thing, is that all our beaches have public access. And therefore, we will need a beach authority to be able to manage those beaches properly. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reflect on the importance of service excellence in our industry to ensure sustainable growth. Developing sites and attractions alone will not be enough to achieve our long-term growth targets. I believe we must pay more attention to service excellence in particular, as ultimately it is visitors' experience in our country that will make them want to return. I am really looking forward to our discussions over the next few days as to how best we can capitalize on this Caribbean brand in these most challenging times. The Caribbean Tourism Organization is setting ambitious targets, and I welcome the vision and confidence that the organization is showing. I would also like to invite the visitors in our midst to spare some time during your stay with us to discover Trinidad and Tobago and get to know us somewhat better. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much.